Well, hello and welcome to the stream. We're big on part two on biblical history that came out, and this is with Father Charles Moore, Coast to Coast account. This came out 11/26, 1998. Enjoy.
Be on standby in case we needed them on that December 31st. Our National Police Force, the RCMP, have all been notified there's nobody getting any days off from December 31st up till possibly March of year 2000.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's say that Y2K brings with it half of what we think it might. Power goes out, water stops because they can't pump. Are you ready?
I personally am. I'm retired from business and I live in a cabin in the country. I've got my wood stove and I'm able to rough it and good well water and things like that. Yes, I'm ready partially. And I've tested all my VCRs and that works properly. They go to 0, but they still work. But today, the major announcement today on our national television station was that the Canadian insurance companies have announced that.
I know, I've got it. They're not going to cover Y2K claims.
Exactly. They're going to put exclusion clauses in all of their insurance claims. So that's a major announcement. I don't know. They're going quite public with it here in Canada and preparing us for, I guess, what's coming up.
I know, my friend. I read it. I actually read one of the notifications. I didn't read it on the air. I should have, I suppose. But you're absolutely right. They are not going to cover anything Y2K related, and they're telling everybody that right now.
Right. That's an anticipation that we're expecting something major to happen. I have if I may, a ghost story in advance of tomorrow night. I won't be able to call.
Oh, no.
No, it's not a personal one.
No, hold it for tomorrow.
Okay, I'll call tomorrow then.
All right.
Okay, thank
The
you.
international line is not so hard to get through on. Thank you. Tomorrow night, nothing but ghost stories. Now, I warn you, and I really mean this, listening to a full night of real ghost stories is scary as hell. You know why? Because they're very common. Very common. Too common. And as you listen, you begin to realize about halfway through, you begin to get a chill going down your spine that won't leave for a long, long time. First time caller line, you're on the air. Hi. That's me.
My name is Phil. I live in New Jersey.
Hi, Phil.
I'm listening to you on WABC New York.
77. Easy to see. How's Curtis doing? Is he calming down?
He's calming down, but I don't think he'll ever really calm down.
No.
You know how he is.
I do. He was sending me, I was getting all these faxes saying he's coming out to see me with his band of angels. And I was wondering why he thought he needed all his little angels with him.
Probably moral support, because I think that's all he is.
Yeah, I won't either. I've got a line that would go well there, but I won't use it.
Well, the reason I'm calling you is we're listening to some of the band the other night, and they submariner, or what's a submariner?
Yes. Is that the way they say it on the East Coast? A submariner, yeah.
Yeah. And, well, anyway, it's figured something, he said, figured something that happened to me. I'm a retired Air Force officer.
Uh-huh.
And it happened to me about 30 years ago.
Okay.
I was flying out the West Coast traffic. I was a navigator. And I was just had to get some extra time, getting some time to go somewhere. So I was a mission crew member. But the C-124, I don't know if you flew the Globe Bastard.
I never flew one of those. I did headed a lot on C-130s.
Okay. Well, anyway, there was a big crew compartment up forward, and I was relaxing there, and the line navigator guy was
for that mission, having some problems with the radar. So he came back and asked me, the captain, I had more experience, and they had blown the screws. They do something. So what's the problem? Well, he's getting some return out there. He thinks it's a show. It could be a show out there.
A show?
Hey, not between once you leave the West Coast and get to Hawaii, getting close. There's nothing out there. It thought it was a show that wasn't on the charts, and that low tide come off with take off return. And I said, hey, don't how. And so we take a look at it. So it was just about 200 miles out. The range on our scope in the 124 was about 220 miles, 230 miles, something like that. It was just on the edge of the scope. So I said, maybe just, I said, first of all, it could be a thunderstorm out there, just change the tilt on the antenna. And it
Could be a rogue wave, could have been a lot of things.
yeah, well, it stayed out there. It was fuzzy, but it was definitely out there. So I said, well, maybe defect the scope, bring the range of the scope in to about 50 miles. And if it's a real return, it will disappear. If it's defect in the scope, it will stay in the same position on the scope.
That's logical, yes.
So, but the range said, no, we already did that. I said, what? They brought the range in? There was something out there.
Okay, something big.
Something getting returned at 200 miles out.
Right.
I remembered something. I had been to the navigation bombing school at Mesa. And I remembered that very dense material, very large structure would give a tremendous return. So I said, well, it's not jamming, because I knew what jamming looked like.
Sure.
So I figured, my fuzzy mind, it must be a new type of jamming mechanism that we have on some of our ships that we haven't heard about, and it covers an area so that a missile can't home in on it. A missile leaves a point, it can't home in on the area.
Sure.
So that's what was theory. Told the pilot, he picked it up on his repeater scope out there. I gave him an ETA for it, and I said, no, he carried group with some type of jamming mechanism. And well, that's why we changed frequencies. We just figured we could pick up some Navy aircraft, listening to that talk screen aircraft. Didn't pick up anything. So we plunged on ahead. It was now daylight. It was daylight. And gave an ETA for about 50 miles out, because at that point, their combat air patrol would intercept us. Even though we were on course and, airways knew of our position and so forth, the carrier group would automatically intercept any plane coming to the area just to make sure they said who they think this was.
Okay, we're going to have to rush forward. What did it turn out to be?
Well, that's the interesting thing. We got within a few miles of it. We looked out there, we couldn't see anything. The radar now indicated it was maybe a mile and a half wide, 2 miles, 2 to 3 miles long. Tremendous return. And
In the air or on the air? In the air.
The radar was looking down, looking at it, and we couldn't see anything except an area, darkened area, approximately 3 miles long, mile and a half wide, which looked exactly like what the radar return was indicating. The only thing that could have been was something very dense, right beneath the surface of the water. And all our experience was that radar energy would not take up anything as soon as it went under the water. Too deep to have been a submarine or anything. There wasn't interference. No interference on our radios. We passed behind it. We lost track of it. Because of the configuration of the aircraft. We sent a coded message into Hickam. We had an unidentified sighting, gave us a latitude longitude on our business document.
What the hell that could have been?
We don't know. We landed, we were debriefed by a Navy officer. He said, was this? We said, no, it was garbage slick. It wasn't this. It was an oil slick. And he had the ultimate answer for it.
And that was?
Classified. The navigator's log, the mission fluency, the radio operator's log.
Wait a minute. He said it is a classified thing?
Yeah.
Wow.
He had no idea what it was.
Wow.
He had no idea.
And he took all the logs?
Yeah, the log, mission fluency, the radio operator's log, gave us receipts for it, took the shot, everything was classified.
You know, I have a suggestion for you.
Yeah.
I would like you to contact, there's two things that you can do. One is you can file a Freedom of Information request that will get you all that information, assuming it's been unclassified by now, and I would think it would be. You can contact somebody named Peter Gersten, who is in.
What's the last name?
Gersten, Gersten.
Yeah.
He is an attorney who will willingly do this kind of work.
Yeah.
Do you have a computer?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, well, you can get him at UFO Lawyer.
UFO lawyer.
1, the number 1, at AOL.com.
AOL.com. UFO LAWYER.
LAWYER.
Yeah, LAWYER.
Number 1.
Number 1.
At AOL.com. Tell him that story, and I think he can help you. And then when you get the information, come back here first to tell it.
Oh, I definitely will.
All right?
Okay, the reason I picked it up was that the Mariner mentioned the fact that they had some unidentified objects very large underwater.
That's correct. Thank you very much. Yes, a submarine expert, and there was no question about his expertise. When asked directly about things that moved utterly too fast and much too large under the sea, do they see them as we see UFOs in our skies? And the answer was an unqualified, without hesitation, oh yes. Probably to the same degree that we have unidentified objects that cannot be explained, seen here. What that man saw, you've got to admit, is very interesting and deserves an FOIA request. It'd be interesting to see what they come up with. Wildcard line, you're on the air. Hi.
Hi, Art, this is Ed from Madison, Wisconsin.
Hi, Ed.
I'm the guy that's passed you over the last couple of years on passing.
Oh, yes.
Sorry about passing you for it. I just really get excited about the topic and didn't mean to ask you, but I know I did.
That's right. I mean, fasting is not a good topic on Thanksgiving, but.
Right. But that is the topic I was going to talk about in response to Joe that you called me for.
Oh, yes.
And that's what I'd like to say to him, that if he's feeling a sense of powerlessness, like there's nothing that he can do, I would just like to suggest to him to take some time to fast and pray. And I would say from my experience that truly nothing's impossible through prayer and fasting.
Well, he's got a lot of time to prepare, for one thing. And if he's got a big generator, he's got water, he's already ahead of most people, frankly.
Yeah.
So he'll make it.
We'll keep him in our prayers.
Okay, take care. Thank you. Do that indeed. West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hi. Going once.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, I'm calling from Greenville, Wyoming.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you. I was fighting today.
Yes.
Yeah. And there was a call early on in the game that gave Pittsburgh a score that it shouldn't have.
That they should not have made. I agree with you. I saw that.
Well, no, it shouldn't have been a tie maybe in the first place.
I know, but you can't say it's cool because that's karma and, that's way. No.
There was some quite a few bad calls.
They have got to bring back instant replay.
I agree. Yeah, I was kind of upset when they took it away.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to talk about was the warming.
Yes.
And I moved here to Green North from Valentine, Nebraska, and they've been setting records in the 70s there.
Really?
Yeah, and they've today I talked to my family there, and it's 74.
This is, it's one of those things, you watch now, you mark my words, the whole country is going to wake up to this all of a sudden. I mean, already people are, of course, saying, what's going on with the weather?
Oh, yeah, well,
but it hasn't really quite dawned on everybody that we're in the middle of a really profound change.
well, it's pretty strange. Here in Green River, we are in the desert, and we are usually have snow on the ground here in Thanksgiving time, and it's bitterly cold.
Yes.
And it is, well, I'm not even sure what it got up to today. I didn't look at watching the games instead, but, I think it's probably reached close to 60.
Imagine this, British submarines are saying they're measuring 1/3 less ice in the Arctic.
Yeah,
Can you imagine that? 1/3 less ice. What do you suppose that might mean?
well, and the chunks that are breaking off are big. I heard somebody say they're bigger than what the Titanic hit.
Yeah, they're much bigger, and
Yeah.
there's even yet a bigger one getting ready to break off. All right, got to break it off here. We'll be back at the top of the hour with a Catholic priest who knows all about Zachariah Sitchin's work. I'm Art Bell, and this is Coast to Coast AM.
God is a liar.
To talk with Art Bell in the Kingdom of Nye. From east of the Rockies, dial 1-800-825-5033. West of the Rockies, including Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, and New Mexico, 1-800-618-8255. First-time callers may reach our area code 702-727-1222. And you may call our own wildcard line at area code 702-727-1295. To reach out from outside the U.S., first dial your access number to the USA. Then 800-893-0903. This is Coast to Coast AM from the Kingdom of Nye with Art Bell.
Well, here's somebody, little Art. I have to agree with you on the Steeler line of game, and the instant replay not only was a coin flip an example of total incompetence, but in that game, an intercepted pass bounced off a player, clearly. The referee claimed the ball bounced off the ground. What was he looking at? He had to have intended or imagined seeing it. I couldn't agree more. It was heartbreaking. It cost me money. It was aggravating. I mean, they had this thing locked up. And then it wasn't the coin toss. It's like that commercial they have where the ref comes out and finally has to ask the player if anybody has changed for $1, on a bad day. It was that bad. It was really that bad. It should be embarrassing for officiating in the NFL. All right, coming up in a moment, Father Charles L. Moore, and I don't know anything about Father Charles L. Moore, except that my friend Zachariah Sitchin said I should have him on the air. And so that's exactly what we're going to do. It's hard to imagine a Catholic priest who would have any sympathy at all with the 12th planet, the small, the gods, the small g gods, the genetic tampering, and all that as our beginning. Anyway, we're going to find out. We'll find out about Father Moore together in a moment. Don't touch that dial. Okay, here we go. His name is Father Charles L. Moore, and I know he's somewhere in Central California, and I know that Zachariah Sitchin recommended that I have him on, and that's all I know. Here he is, Father Moore. Welcome.
Hello, Art.
Hi. You must be in Central California someplace.
Civic Road is on the Monterey Peninsula.
Okay. Why do you think that Zachariah Sitchin would say I should talk to you?
Because of the dialogue that's been going on between
Zachariah Sitchin and myself for several years now, and in which we seem to understand each other with great accuracy. And I have been very grateful to Zachariah for providing me with some insight into where theology might have come from.
All right. Let's back up. We'll get to that in a second. Could you tell us about yourself? Are you an active priest? Are you retired? What kind of priest were you? And so on and so on. A little bit about you.
Well, yes, I was ordained in 1964. I've been retired for a few years now officially, but I'm still working at it by having this meeting in my house is very successful. And I kind of travel around as ceremonial travel, and I go up to Montana, down San Luis Obispo, and some other places. I'm a lawyer also, and I'm at Stanford, and was the Navy one time. Okay, that's sort of my background.
All right. So you are currently not active as a priest.
Yeah, well, I am active, all right, but I'm just officially retired from assignment.
I understand.
Sort of on my own as a retired priest.
You were a traditional Catholic priest.
Yes, I think that's fair to say. I was ordained out of one of the most conservative seminaries in the world in Los Angeles, California.
Well, it's a pretty long way from that conservative background to an alliance with Zachariah Sitchin and the 12th planet, the Anunnaki, and all the rest of it. So maybe you could explain to all of us how that happened.
Well, I'd just like to make a phrase first as introduction. It's the introduction of the gods, this is what I call it, the introduction of the gods into the paradigm being the accepted view. And I have frequently thanked Zachariah for allowing me to have the information to turn the gods into the paradigm. And that's what that seems to do for me and for everybody I talk to. When they get it, all of a sudden all sorts of things make sense that never made sense before. It's probably the most remarkable synthesis of what might be called secular history and scientific process and religious theory that I've ever found in my life.
When you insert the gods, you said.
Insert the gods into the paradigm. Yeah.
How from everything you have learned, everything you know, and I assume at least at one time, everything you believe, do you do that? How do you insert the gods?
Well, the gods, of course, play a big part in the historical view of the world by mankind, and they appear quite forcefully in the Bible. But they appear in the Bible as if they were mythological, or as if they were things of thought, as it is said. However, the Greek gods certainly play a big part in our memory of ancient cultures, and the English poets play on them a lot, as do the German philosophers. And these gods, of course, are looked upon as being mythological or perhaps psychological, and they are taken in those terms. What Zachariah tells us is that they are real, and that they are as real as we are. And one must understand that these gods are not spelled with a capital G, but with a small one. I asked him a question one time. I said, Zachariah, is the God whom we worship the God whom the gods worship? He thought for a moment. He said, well, yes, exactly. And he wrote a book through it. So, the God of gods, as it is stated in the Bible, is extremely consonant with being the God whom the gods worship. Now, putting that all together, of course, takes a little bit of looking at your belief system. But in the final analysis, it simply verifies it and makes it more credible.
And so you find no conflict with what you have learned and what you now believe versus what you originally thought you believed as a complete story.
That's basically correct. However, when one does this, one has to look at one's creedal system and reevaluate it. Many of the favorite doctrines of the Catholic Church, for instance, turn out to mean something quite different in this context than what is usually accepted. And this process is greatly assisted. Also, one looks at it and one finds certain real problems about the origin of Christianity, for instance, which come into clear light under the auspices of the God.
There are many things about the Catholic Church that befuddle me somewhat. I'm not Catholic, my wife is. And we went to Rome not long ago and walked into the Sistine Chapel.
Yeah.
And as you walk through the front of the main entrance to the Sistine Chapel, here's this gigantic globe in a glass enclosure with the signs of the zodiac.
Yeah.
And I stood there and my jaw dropped and I went, what? The Sistine Chapel? This is what I'm greeted with when I walk into the Sistine Chapel?
Exactly.
Perhaps you could explain that seemingly impossible vision.
Well, my approach to that is something very cognate to it, is the subject of telepathy. People ask me, for instance, the church doesn't believe in telepathy, does it? I say to them, well, I don't know. But if the church does not believe in telepathy, what are they doing when they pray?
You say that to them?
Yeah, exactly what I say.
And what kind of reaction does that usually get?
They say, oh, never thought of that. I suppose that's it. It's very much closer than you think. As far as the zodiac is concerned.
Yes.
The entire, well, let's take a simple thing about Judaism, which is basic to the whole thing. That is the way the encampment of the Israelites was laid out by Moses in the desert. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
You will find that not only do each of the tribes of Israel have a zodiac sign assigned to them, under the 12 in both cases, but that the arrangement of the encampment, or the arrangement of the zodiac, in which the Ark of the Covenant pointed east to the equinoctial sunrise, and the tribes went around in a somewise circle, as the American Indians would say, from right, round, left, in exact order of the zodiac, each tribe having its proper position.
All right. So there's apparently a lot of things about Catholicism that I don't know. A lot of misconceptions about Catholicism, and I mean, so you embrace the thought that long ago this 12th planet Hebrew did come by. That in fact there was a race called the Anunnaki, or whatever you want to call them, I suppose it doesn't matter, a race of extraterrestrials who intervened with a creature here at that time, produced, I suppose, you certainly believe, by God with a big G, and intervened genetically to produce what we are today. And they did this in order to mine gold.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right. I find that utterly consistent. Now let me tell you what.
Please.
Genesis, which of course is a very popular book in the Bible.
Yes, it is.
Genesis has a bibliography. Now, when people say, what? How could Genesis have a bibliography? It's the first book. Well, of course, Genesis is not the first book. It's just about beginnings. But it has a bibliography which is contained in the book itself. And the bibliography is of books, most of which are lost. One of them is called the Book of Noah, for instance. And there are other books, Jubilees, etc. Now, a book of Enoch. Now, these books, the big deal about Zechariah's vision is how he got started on all of this. And did he absolutely told you that? as when they were doing the bar mitzvah. The rabbi had it memorized, part of Genesis. And one of the phrases in it was about, it was translated from Hebrew into English, so he was doing it in Hebrew. The English translation was, the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair, took as many as they wished to wife.
Producing the Nephilim.
Huh?
Producing the Nephilim.
Nephilim, yeah.
Yes.
And the word sons of God was translated from the Hebrew word Nephilim. All right?
Right.
Well, he said to the rabbi, the word Nephilim doesn't mean sons of God, does it? Doesn't it mean those who came down? Rather than be as. Well, why do you translate the sons of God then? But don't ask questions, just balance. You, it was a difficult one, I might say. That's what answer.
Well, I, as a child, went to a Lutheran church, and I got similar answers until one day, when I asked too many questions, they asked me to just not come back next Sunday.
That's what they do, folks like that. And the thing is, of course, that it is the question. Who cares about the answer? You know?
Oh, yeah.
And people who don't ask questions probably don't care about either the question or the answer. And so therefore what's happening in that situation is that the theologian, whoever it is who's teaching, is defending themselves against being brought up against their own doubts and ignorance. And their refusal to answer or to be questioned is a sign they don't know what they're talking about. And you as a child, you ask, of course.
Had you expressed these beliefs when you were active and you had a parish and so would you have been removed?
No. I went to a friend of mine who went to the seminary with me, who is now bishop in Northern California Diocese. And actually, he's my best friend in the seminary. And I sat down with him and explained a good deal of this. And afterwards, he rocked back in his chair and said, wow, Charlie, you've really been doing the homework, haven't you? But you understand, said he, I couldn't speak publicly of these things.
Did he really say that?
Yes, he did, sir. And that's just about where we are on this matter. I mean, you know what I call this particular theology? I call it the theology of radical conservatism.
Do you think that this belief or this knowledge is held tightly within the Vatican?
Yes, I do.
I say again.
Yeah, very much so. And we're going to see it breaking forth. I'm talking to you this night on the radio nationwide. Maybe the opening shot of a tremendous television.
There have been, Father, a couple of interesting news items from the Vatican with respect to unidentified flying objects being, in fact, real. I forget, I may have been a bishop, high official of the church, went on television in Italy and made some sort of statement to that effect. And so there's been a few things like that. You've almost got to wonder if they're not sort of preparing the way for more information to follow.
Well, if you want to go on to that for a minute, let's deal with the June 30th phenomenon. By the way, I also know Grant Hancock visited him in Dorian.
Oh, a wonderful man, a good friend.
Isn't he a great guy?
Great guy, yes.
Absolutely. And his recent book, Tomorrow's Mystery, is really a bombshell. I noticed that his date, which he supports with considerable scientific evidence, look out for what I call the bullide, all right? My theological statement of that, the Noah's Light is a bullide hit. The Earth was hit by some object from outer space because of what is called the Noah's Light. And the history of bullides in the world is very well recounted by Grant Hancock.
Absolutely. Father, hold on. We'll pick it up at that point when we come back. The Great Flood in Bolide. Well, it was that. How did Noah have time to prepare the ark? because the bolide would have been not quite immediate, but nearly immediately disaster.
In the Kingdom of High from outside the U.S. First, dial your access number to the USA. Then, 800-893-0903. If you're a first-time caller, call out at 702-727-1222. From east of the Rockies, 1-800-825-5033. West of the Rockies, including Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, and New Mexico. Call out at 1-800-618-8255. Or call out on the web.com at area code 702-727-1295. This is Coast to Coast AM from the Kingdom of Nod.
Certainly is. And let me alert you before we go back to Father Charles Moore, to a number of really interesting things that we just got up on our website. Within minutes, I mean, just this last half hour now. One is a ghost photograph that is absolutely remarkable. A purported ghost photograph. You've really got to see it. It's from 1906, by the way. And then there's a 1978 UFO photograph from guess where? Here in Pahrump, Nevada. That's where I am. Submitted by one of my listeners. And also the New Times interview that I did some time ago. Keith somehow got hold of it, and it's on the website too. So a UFO over Pahrump, Nevada, taken obviously from a vehicle. A ghost photograph from 1916 in Kansas. You might read what comes with it, quite remarkable. And the New Times interview, all up on the website in the last 30 minutes. That's www.artbell, that's ARTBELL lowercase.com. Every now and then I get things saying, can't find your website. Well, it's not hard to find. www.artbell.com. A lot of new stuff up there right now, so if I were you, I would move your mouse and get going. Indeed. Interesting email. Hi, Art. My name is Anthony. I won't give his last name. And I'm writing from the Republic of South Africa. Apparently, I have a lot of listeners there. I'm listening to your program here now at 9:30 in the morning. I'm interested in your Y2K comments and phone-ins. I'm preparing for the Y2K problem here by moving out of the city and going to live in the Kingdom of Swaziland, a rural and unspoiled area in the southern African region. Keep up the good work. Well, I guess my going on the radio in Cape Town had some effect. We seem to have a lot of listeners now in South Africa via the web. Back down to Father Moore. And Father Moore, you were saying that the great was caused by a bolide, or otherwise people would think of it as a meteor or a giant rock from space. Right. How would Noah have had time to prepare the ark if it was a bolide? It would have come surely without warning.
Well, the entire story is recounted in the records of ancient Sumerian civilization.
Okay.
The name of the person is Utnapishtim. That's Noah's name in Sumerian. Okay? Utnapishtim was the king of Arad, which is one of the cities of Sumer. And it came along that this bolide was sighted by the gods, is the way the story goes, coming in. And they knew that it was going to strike and create havoc. The thing would have to evacuate the planet in order to avoid being killed. And the question was whether they're going to save the people or not. Chief god Enlil usually comes on as L, decided against saving the human race because they've been so messed up by the interventions of this and bad and Cosmosa. And so consequently, he decided not to warn them. However, as the story is, that Emerald's brother M.T., who was a friendly person for humankind, decided that he would save somebody. And so he called the Christian into the sacred precinct behind the root screen, told him to come into the temple that night, and that he might hear something that interested him. And then he told the root screen that night about the coming catastrophe, and that the entire world was going to be destroyed either by fire or flood, and therefore he should prepare himself about it. And he said, by the way, root screen, I brought the plans for this boat along. I'll leave them here with you so that you, root screen, can at least escape. Really, of course, the Christian came out, snatched the plans, and went to work and built the boat, and the rest followed. In other words, God saw it coming. The gods saw it coming, and the gods gave the warning.
All right, Dan.
The Sumerians say.
Dan in Palm Springs, California, asks perhaps the obvious. Aren't happy Thanksgiving. Please ask the good father how long he was a priest and was he asked to retire.
Okay, answer. I've been a priest and still am. In 1964. And I was ordained in the Diocese of Monterey, and I was not asked to retire.
Okay.
I retired with a normal course. So there is no breach between me and the hierarchy.
That in itself is shocking, and that you would have asked a bishop about, told him all of this, and he would have simply acknowledged that you're correct, but it can't be talked about. There are many, many, many secrets held within the walls of the Vatican, aren't there?
There certainly are.
I have interviewed another Catholic priest frequently, whose name I bet you're familiar with, Father Malachi Martin.
Oh, yes,
there are some pretty serious indictments in that book.
I would say.
Would you care to venture? I don't want to push you into an opinion you don't want to give, but you haven't been hesitant so far.
Oh, I don't disagree with Malachi Martin or anything he says. And he's added to my store of knowledge, but I wouldn't question his veracity.
Father Martin is and has been, as well as an advisor to two popes, very close to Vatican, an exorcist.
Yeah.
Do you believe that people, in fact, are possessed by evil, by the devil?
Well, simple answer to that is yes. This opens up a whole field which we may not have time to get into, what I call shamanism. And to explain it plainly, this is the definition of a shaman I learned to work with. A shaman is a person who discovers within their own heart the knowledge that everything in the universe is made of spirit. And this, of course, is what Einstein said. But anyway, the shamanism, in my opinion, is the original religion of the 3.5 million years of mankind. And it still survives among us. And the function of shamans, Moses, by the way, was a shaman. Apparently so was Jesus. And the function of shaman is to deal with spirits, good and bad.
Was Jesus the Son of God?
Not in the way people usually mean that.
You know, I asked Zachariah that the other night, and he said, that is something that I have yet to deal with. I'm going to write a book about it.
Okay.
But I don't have my answer for you right now.
Yes. Well, Jesus, in my opinion, is someone I would call a master. And the necessary comparison to Jesus is Siddhartha, Buddha, Bodhisattva. And the parallel between the life of Jesus, the life of Buddha is absolutely astounding.
It is, yes.
And I've gone to India to check it all out on site, and it just keeps getting more marvelous all the time. And for instance, the idea of Bodhisattva, basic statement of Buddha as Bodhisattva, which occurs at the time of his passing at the age of 80, is, I'm with you all days even to the end of the world, which is exactly what Jesus has said. The idea is that Bodhisattva is the point where the man who is enlightened, the enlightened Buddha, becomes the enlightened spirit. He chooses to remain to assist those in the process of elimination, choose to ask him for that assistance. And it seems to me that this is precisely the same function. So that it's so much so that I have this saying that I go by. Jesus grafted the Buddhist shoe on a Jewish shirt.
Father Martin says that he knows the third secret of Fatima.
I know.
And that I will frequently ask him about it, and he will always not tell, but he will say something like, it's worse than the worst you can imagine.
That's right, it is. I know what it is. It was released, you know.
It was.
Yes.
How now? So, what? I'm sorry, I missed that.
It was released.
In June.
Yeah. And now that goes back to your Graham Hancock. Graham Hancock predicted the 30th of June as a blowout hit. You know that?
30th of June of
1999.
No, I did not know that. You're giving me all kinds of new information here, and I can only deal with one at a time.
Okay.
The third secret of Fatima.
Well, now the point is, the third secret of Fatima is there will be a blowout hit on June 30th, 1999.
Oh. In other words, we could perhaps have a repetition of the Great Flood, or it could hit land and
Firestorm.
there's a firestorm. I was not aware that Graham had made a prediction of a June 30th hit of a bolide.
Very much so in the Mars history. He gives the exact date.
June 30th.
30th. You know that meteorite shower we just had?
Yes.
That's the front or back side, as you might look at it, of the same shower that will hit us on June 30th.
You're laying so much new stuff on me here that I'm having to try and assimilate it as best I can. Now I'm going to have to get hold of Graham, obviously.
Yeah. I'll tell you, as it's in his book, and the thing that got me was that I read his book shortly after it came out. And found the information about the third secret of Fatima shortly thereafter. And the fact that both the third secret of Fatima and Graham Hancock's prediction predict exactly the same date kind of raised my hair up a little bit.
Sure.
And the thing about that is, the word bolide, which I use so frequently here, is actually Nostradamus' word. And he predicts the bolide on July 1st, 1999.
Who released the third secret?
Vatican.
The Vatican did.
That's what I
How could I miss this? Do you actually have the text of it?
No, I don't. I got it in a sort of news flash, and I haven't been able to track it down further than that either. But it was in some kind of a publication that came out, and it was. That's why it's more terrible than anything you can imagine.
Well, that would virtually end life.
And it's a life-extinguishing event. Graham Hancock, you know, in his book Mars History, says that these life-extinguishing events have occurred every 30 million years within the last 4.5 billion of planet's existence.
Now, I have some sympathy with that point of view because, of course, there is the eternal dialogue between those who believe in creation and those who believe in evolution. And I don't see the process of evolution underway, though I'm here for a short time and may not notice. I tend to believe that we go through periods of creation and destruction, and that evolution as we know it, particularly as you look back on it, there are jumps that are unaccountable, right? Occurred at times of creation or destruction, and then creation again.
That's right. That's exactly the way I view it. And the thing is that we are living in a shooting gallery, and you look around at the other planets, you can plainly see the solar hits or the order of the ray, and what the frequency is that we don't know. And the ray is very different than any of the others. And the great Hancock tells you exactly why these solar hits hit at that frequency of 30 million years, which you might be interested to know. And the idea is that the sun, the orbital speeds, the orbital speed of the Earth, one of them is 1,000 miles an hour, you know, around the axis. The other one is 60,000 miles an hour around the sun. It's really cool. The other one is, I believe, 360,000 miles an hour, which is the speed of the sun going around the Milky Way. The thing is, the sun moves around the Milky Way. It does not move in a plane like a planet. Rather, it follows a dolphin-like course going up and down in a sine wave of a dolphin. Follow the dolphin, but anyway, as it goes up and down, it passes through the spiral on the Milky Way, in which the matter is much more dense than above or below. And the period between the peak and valley of any wave is 30 million years. And when we look at the geologic record, Hancock says we have such a light extinguishing event every 30 million years. We no doubt caused by the sun passing through the Milky Way.
That is correct. I believe that is exactly what you said. The original flood, the story of Noah and the ark.
Yeah.
There was then intervention when a bolide was headed our way. What do you anticipate or know might occur this time? In other words, will there be yet another intervention?
Well, I think that's the promise. I think this is what the fundamentalists call the rapture. That whenever this happens, somebody comes to rescue effort. That seems to be exactly what it's about. The thing is, though, that in the former hit, the time of the flood, whenever the bolide hits the sea, as a deep impact of the movie, whenever it hits the sea, there are these huge tidal waves. And by the way, the destruction in the flood was not basically caused by the 40 days and 40 nights of rain, but by huge tidal waves that eventuated off Antarctica where the bolide hit. Came up the Indian Ocean into the funnel of the Persian Gulf and poured out over into Central Asia. This is what happens when a bolide hits the sea. If a bolide hits the land, however, huge quantities of earth are thrown into outer space, scatter themselves around a kind of corona around the Earth, fall back to Earth through the stratosphere, become highly heated, and cover the Earth with rain and fire. Which is totally destructive of everything on its surface. Now, such a hit on land would be very hard to prevent the destruction, unless some kind of intervention from out there should occur just before that happens. Afterwards, it'd be too late.
Of course, the more likely scenario is that it would hit the water, since more of our planet is water than land.
70%, yes,
exactly. The results for us, though, would be, I suppose, somewhat the same. Just about nothing would survive.
That's right.
You know, I am really, really, really curious to I hope you can stay around and let me open up the phone lines and let people ask you questions, because I guarantee there are a lot of questions out there about what you have said.
I hope so.
I mean, do you feel like you have a little bit of time?
I'm ready.
You are. All right, I should warn you, Father, that I have unscreened phone lines. I don't pre-question my callers about what they're going to ask. They can ask anything they want. And based on what you said, believe me, they're going to have some serious questions.
I know, I do this every Sunday.
You do?
Oh, yeah. I'm taking my job. I always say, what do you think about that? And people ask me and go wherever they want.
You do this on radio someplace?
I guess I do it on the radio on occasion. And I also do it, I used to do it on TV Beyond, there's a station recently gone national. And, but I do it every Sunday here whenever I have services.
Okay, so right where you are, Father, this should be absolutely, positively fascinating. My guest is a Catholic priest, and one who began as a very conservative Catholic priest, Father Charles L. Moore. And if you've heard the last hour and you don't have questions, I suggest you check your pulse. He was recommended to me by Zachariah Sitchin, who was on earlier in the week. And after the news, we'll open the phone lines. Buckle in.
This is Coast to Coast AM with our bell. So Robbie Square at 1-800-825-5033. West of the Rockies, including Montana, and in Colorado and Mexico. Alarm 800-608-8255. Which I want to reach out to code 712-727-1222. And the way back up, code 712-727-8499. Please find your license to 102 values. This is Coast to Coast AM with our bell. Again, here is our
Once again, here I am. I am not easily blown away. I mean, I do a show that deals with the unusual. All right. So I'm not easily affected heavily. This is why I'm not blown away. My guess is Father Charles L. Moore, and he has given a recommendation of Zachariah Sitchin. My interview earlier in the week. Zachariah lived 1B where I was in for, he didn't. And all I can say is enough. If you've read the last hour, no doubt you have many questions. Father Moore comes from a very conservative Catholic background. He validates much of what Zachariah Sitchin says, actually almost all of it. Father Moore says the third season of Lamb has been released. It is alive and it's going to hit Earth June 30th, 1999. Same day that Randy Kirkhoff has predicted this federal occur. Lawrence, Christ, fire from the sky mountains. That's mountains. Or lesser events. All right. Let's make sure that I've got this right. Father Moore, welcome back.
Hello.
Here's email. Father Charles is aware that the book of Revelation talks about a burning mountain falling into the ocean. Perhaps he can paraphrase that verse.
Not offhand. Take me a second, but I recall it.
You virtually have said tonight that you believe that the world, our world, as we know it, is going to end June 30th of 1999, this coming year.
Well, I would say that people ask me what are the chances of this happening, and I say, well, I guess just about what the chances are of everything happening, 50-50. The point is that the fact of the coincidence of three major predictors on one day, effectively, causes me to have pause to think that it's very likely it's going to happen. Let's put it this way, I won't be a bit surprised, and as that date comes closer, I will expect to prepare myself.
Do you think, Father, that we will have warning of this? And when I say that, I mean not just what you're saying right now, or Brian Hancock, or the third secret of Fatima, but warning in a astronomical sense that some astronomer will see this thing coming toward us.
Grant Hancock says no warning.
No warning.
And he says why? 24 hours. The warning will be 24 hours, which is much too short to do anything about it. And the reason he says that is that the Leonid meteorite shower, which we go through in June, it comes in the daytime hours.
Well, I thought the Leonids came in November.
They do, but they also return in June.
They return in June.
Well, that's what Hancock says. I'm taking his word for it. And that when they come in June, you don't see them. That's why they don't make anything of them, because they're not visible.
I see.
And he says that they're hiding in there someplace in a great foggy mass covered, gray-covered bolide of considerable size.
Well, I do know that astronomers have categorized, I believe they claim 10 to 15% of what they call the Earth crossers. They only know about 10 to 15%. And I also know that in the past, many, many times, the Associated Press, the main wire services have run stories that go about like this. The Associated Press learned today that Earth had a very close call 2 days ago, 24 hours ago. And then something came very close that we had no idea was out there. And we find out about it 2 days later. Now, does that give me a lot of hope? Well, that we would know ahead of time?
No, it doesn't. The thing is, however, I will tell you that coming events do cast their shadows before in terms of deep-seated psychological awarenesses.
I believe that.
And I think that we're beginning to see symptoms like that popping up all over the place. At least I'm seeing it around here. And it doesn't have to do with having heard what I said. There's some kind of deep disturbance at work.
Oh boy, like you. I wrote a book called which was all about that, and I'm not a prophet, but I have felt for some time now that a really major event is on the way. It's supposed to just feel it. You can feel it in every fiber of my being. I know. Yeah. All right, here we go. First on the line, you're on the air with Father Charles Moore. Hi.
Yes, Baltimore?
Yes.
I have a question for you. You seem to jump between different historic and archaic texts quite often. I want to know how do you decipher which texts are accurate, or you seem to take a verse out of the Bible and continue in some ancient other text.
Yeah.
And I want to understand.
Where are you, Colin?
From Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Some of it, no doubt, comes from Zechariah Sitchin's reading of the Aramaic.
Because when we were talking about Noah before, and you mentioned about the meteorite, in Genesis it speaks about the waters covering the highest peaks for several months.
Right.
And if that were true, as a scholar and as an educated person, you really believe that it would take several months for the water to recede from the highest peaks?
Certainly would. The thing is,
say that?
when these bolides hit, the Genesis uses the term, the mountains of the deep will be loosed, right? As well as the 40 days and 40 nights. Mountains of the deep being loosed means tidal wave, tsunami, right? True. And the thing is that when a bolide hits and cut off the tidal wave, they are huge, but it takes them at least a year to settle down. And they keep sweeping around the earth and around and around and around for at least a year. And actually, that's just about the period indicated in the Bible in which it could flood to die. I was just curious.
Well, that's the proper time frame, I imagine, but, I just can't stand it would take that long for the seas to settle. Well, that's your view and it's my view, but either here nor there.
And that estimate is given by, people who deal with such things.
What are your views on Jesus himself? Is he the savior, or is he just one of many saviors?
Basically, yes. The thing is that the concept of Messiah, and when one looks into the concept of Messiah, one learns a great deal. For instance, the book of Judges, that is so called in the Bible, should be called the book of Messiahs, because that's what Messiahs do. And what Messiahs do is liberate people. And that's, of course, what Jesus says he's here to do. It's about freedom. And that's what Buddha said he was here to do, and that's what the judges in the Old Testament did.
But in the New Testament, excuse me for interrupting, but before I lose the train of thought, in I believe it's Corinthians, or one of the New Testament books after the Gospels, where was Paul saying that there was no other name beneath heaven given amongst men by which we must be saved, save the name Christ Jesus. How would you justify a verse like that?
That's Paul of Tarsus, and I'm afraid I have not a good opinion of him.
Well, how can you not have a good opinion of him, though?
Because I've discovered in studying these matters that Paul of Tarsus is a Greek, and he makes Jesus into a Greek god, and Jesus is not a Greek god.
I'm sorry, sir, I disagree with you because he was picked of the Lord, and,
of course we have
I'm not going to argue your point because you seem to be set in your ways.
Well, all right, caller, thank you. And take care.
So this is what I call fundamentalist problem, all right? The fundamentalist problem is this: you believe the messenger more than the message.
You can't name that bishop that you talked to, can you?
I'd rather not. He didn't want to be known publicly for his opinion, and I'll respect that.
I understand that. Well, Cardline, you're on the air with Father Moore. Hi.
Hi, Aaron. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
And you're great. You're a well community, and I'd like to ask your guest first of all from Los Angeles, California. I would like to ask your guest if possibly he might think that I've been doing a lot of I'm 34. I've been doing a lot of reading, and I'm really interested in alien abduction since I was 17. And I happen to know a woman that has been abducted. And I would ask you. We know a good amount of women get abducted, and definitely possibly hybrid beings being created by these beings. Now, could it possibly be that if this is going on, that these beings are trying to somehow preserve the human race in some form before this catastrophe might happen? Maybe they have foresight that this is going to happen. Anyway, that question might be for Art too.
Well, that's entirely possible. The thing is that if you read the Sumerian story of the creation of Adam and Eve, you will find that it is precisely a genetic experiment conducted by the gods, in which human beings on the planet 300,000 years ago were used as the source of one half of it, the feminine half, the ovum, and the Anunnaki, or the people from the other planet, were used as the other half, the male half. And that genetic experiments were the precise way in which human beings were bred up. Okay. That is, that the human beings were bred up by the quote gods, unquote, to be slaves.
All right, now I've got another question. Have you ever heard of some tapes called the Day of the Nephilim?
I'm sorry?
There are some tapes out there by this one minister called the Day of the Nephilim. They talk about
the Nephilim?
Yeah, the beings having sex with human beings and breeding giants.
That's right. That's the story of the descent of the Zozo on Mount Hermon.
Okay, now this thing that I heard in this minister that was talking one thing was that these beings were of Satan and that they couldn't procreate like we do, so they had to do it genetically.
Well, they got that a little backwards.
Okay, can you explain your view on that?
Well, it's pretty close. Yeah, the name of Satan in the New Testament that Jesus reuses was Beelzebub. Now that's a Babylonian word, and the meaning of that word is idol of the flies, all right, or lord of the flies. That same name appears in Judaism as Hazazel, and that also appears in the book of Enoch. And this Hazazel Beelzebub is the personage who is presented as Satan or the devil in Judeo-Christian literature. And this is a very specific person and can be very clearly identified as to what happened. And what happened, according to the Sumerian story as presented by Sitchin, is that the descent of Hazazel on Mount Hermon was against orders from on high, as it were, and he came down here in order to engage in fun and games with the ladies. And the result was that he produced offspring that were monsters and giants. And this was the cause of the reason why the human beings were not rescued from the flood, because the entire race had been corrupted by the interference of this Hazazel. Now, it's very interesting that this Hazazel is precisely, in Judaism, Orthodox Judaism, is the demon of Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur being the principal feast of Judaism, in which communion with the Spirit of the Creator is the object. And Hazazel is the one to whom all of the sins are sent by the priest on the head of the scapegoat. And this Hazazel and the identification of the devil as Hazazel will clear things up for everybody massively if they can get with it. Now the thing is that this Hazazel, it isn't that the Nephilim are all devils, but rather that Hazazel is a devil. In other words, he's just a bad god. Right?
All right. Father, it was a man from the Vatican named Father Balducci, that's the name, who went on Italian television earlier this year, incredibly, to discuss his views officially on UFOs. And that would indicate to me that the Vatican seems to be preparing all of us for something, and the Vatican must know something that we don't know, and they're trying to get information out, not directly, but somewhat indirectly.
Well, that's about correct. And then I think that may be the story with Malachi Martin as well.
But Father Malachi Martin also has been saying to keep your eyes firmly on the sky, because there is going to be a large sign from the sky. He thought this last spring, and now he thinks this coming spring, so really
John's the secret of Fatima, and guess what?
Answer the bullseye.
Bullseye.
I sure would like to lay my hands on the actual text. Are you working on that at all, trying to get hold of it?
I'm not, as a matter of fact, but I believe that it wouldn't be too hard to do if you put your mind to the internet and all.
Internet and all. All right, Father, hold on. Father Charles L. Moore is my guest. June 30th, 1999. The Father says that is the third secret of Fatima. And then on that day, a bolide is going to strike Earth, land, or sea. And it's more or less a moot point which it is for us. This is Coast to Coast AM. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them blue, and I think to myself, what including Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, and Mexico. 1-800-618-8295. $47 mainly travels area code 702-727-1222.
And you may call our mobile line at area code 702-727-1295. To reach out from outside the U.S. first, dial your access number to the USA. And 800-893-0903. This is Coast to Coast AM from the Kingdom of Rye with Art Bell.
Well, you know, back around, I could warn me when I was about to walk into with Father Moore. Indeed, we found the Good morning, everybody. I'm Walter Bell, and my guest is Father Charles L. Moore. We'll get back to him in a moment and your question. All right, back now to Father Moore. And Father Moore, I have a question for you. With what we've already had from the Vatican, would you expect that between now and that fateful date, June 30th of 99, that there would be official statements from the Vatican?
I would expect so. The thing is that I'm not sure whether this was an official statement. It was sort of, played down by the press. As you say, some further investigation has to be done into circumstances.
All right, here's somebody who writes, a question for Father Moore. Mr. Bell, if there is going to be an extinction event next June or July, June specifically, what reason would there be to not commit suicide before then to escape suffering beyond imagination?
Well, because the suffering at that time wouldn't be any greater than doing it yourself.
Well, that's a good answer. Plus, there is always the possibility that it will not occur. And
well, that's exactly right.
I actually, Father, I've told this story before, but I had a very interesting phone call once from a lady who said, if we knew we had 6 months to go, and there was going to be an event in Heli that would extinguish all life, do you think everybody would go out and run their credit cards up to the max? And let me finish. And I said, I really have no idea. I doubt the credit card companies would allow it. And so this lady called MasterCard or Visa, I forget which one of the big ones, and she asked that question. And the first person said, "Hold on a moment, please," and she actually got somebody high in management, and they answered her question. They said, "Well, we actually have considered this, and our attitude would be to allow everybody to continue to charge all they wanted based on the following assumptions. One, if it hit, it wouldn't matter. Everything would be academic and nobody's going to be collecting anything anyway, so who cares? But based on the possibility that it wouldn't hit and that Earth would survive, we'd be in great shape."
Well, that's pretty good.
And it's actually a fairly logical,
very logical answer.
Yes, it is.
The interesting thing is that they considered it.
Yes, indeed. East of the Rockies, good morning. You're on the air with Father Moore.
Good morning. God bless you for your show. Father Moore, yes, I am so happy about this show because I need an answer in you from whatever I heard you talking about earlier can corroborate or give me the answer to this. From the things I've read, I believe that when God made the creation, first he made, you know what the Sephirot is?
I'm sorry?
You know what a Sephirot is?
Sephirot, yes.
Okay, God created other universes, which are Sephirot.
Yes.
And those universes, and then he created this universe.
Yes.
And I believe that from those other universes, those were the gods, let's say, or other, or extraterrestrials, which were like, God was the architect and they were the workers. They came here and we were created.
Well, that's kind of the story, isn't it?
And it would be great if you would be able to, I think our task could have with you like 2 shows so you could explain how it was created. Because it's so interesting and it's so easy.
It's very easy indeed. And the thing is, this is the question of dimensions, you see.
Right.
And the word dimension is actually the inadequate word. The word should be multi-dimension.
Right.
There are 2 of them. And the action is that there are many of them.
Right.
And the thing is that the process of creation, what is meant by creation needs to be clarified to deal with that. And what creation is, curiously, is represented by what science called black hole theory. But the idea of creation is that it is, and it's actually in the book of Enoch as well, and also in the book of the Gospel according to Thomas, which we now discovered, in the mouth of Jesus. And here's what he says, and this really needs some explanation, but here's what he says. For spirit to become matter is a marvel, but for matter to become spirit again is the marvel of marvels. Now that's what creation is, as I understand it.
Right, but
Spirit becomes matter.
But when, don't you think it would be easy? Okay, from what I've read, like the infinity themselves contracted in order to create the vessels.
That's right. It is the emergence of the material from the non-material.
Right.
And the thing is, that emergence is pressed by an osmotic power of the Creator.
Mm-hmm.
This is decisive, the kind of thinking that we need to do. And this is I got the word shaman before.
Mm-hmm.
This is the ancient religion of the world. We have been shamanic for 3.5 million years. We've only been human in the sense that we are now after the God's intervention for about 300,000.
Mm-hmm.
But still, the shaman is your radical priest. He's the radical, or she is the radical person who understands from their heart the process of creation.
Wouldn't it be great? Don't you think it would be great for the Father to have a show or to explain how creation was made? It's so easy to understand.
Well,
it makes so much sense.
We can certainly ask. The scientists talk about the Big Bang, Father.
Yes, they do.
Would you instead refer to Genesis?
No, I would try to explain Genesis in terms of the Big Bang, rather. The thing is, I know a lot of people don't like the Big Bang theory, but I rather like it. And the reason I like it is because of what it deals with, and this is pretty abstract mathematics, the non-dimensional point. And this is a Kabbalistic concept from the Kabbalah of the Jews in the Middle Ages. It's called Keter, and Keter is the manifestation point of the Sephirah that our friend the lady was just talking about. And the idea of it is a non-dimensional point, points are all non-dimensional, of course, in which the unmanifest reality manifests as reality. Now, I say that again. A non-dimensional point at which unmanifest reality manifests as reality the way we know it. Now, this point is clearly demonstrated by the black hole theory among scientists, which is the idea that the black hole, which is at the center of our galaxy, for instance, is a tremendous appetite, and it rather eats up the galaxy as it goes over hundreds of billions of years. But the idea of it is that it is a place where mass is condensed to such a smallness as to make it almost impossible to imagine. For instance, just as a general idea, that if the Earth were in the black hole, it would be a microscopic planet.
Oh, yes. Oh, indeed.
You see? Now, the thing is, But the idea when we think of this black hole is dimensionally, by our dimensions, very large. But the opposite is true. The black hole is infinitely small and having this massive appetite to consume those things which appear large. And someone has also pointed out that a pink quasar seems to be the other side of a black hole. That what it takes into its non-dimensionality and back, apparently, into, free material being, it then spews out as a huge burst of light, something like a quasar. And that creation, this would be a succession of creation and catastrophe, in which the one is the other side of the other. And that this is what we call creation. Now, I want to say something right there. What we're dealing with here is a concept of the Word of God. Now, we take the Word of God, the Bible, and the Bible. Well, in the sense the Bible is the Word of God. Well, maybe it's the Vedas instead. Well, maybe in the sense it's the Vedas.